is not with us today, and he goes by the name Sloth. But I was thinking One-Eyed Willie. One-Eyed Willie is not here, and yet it really feels like, I think all the fans would probably agree, does feel like a co-star, does feel like a character in this movie. So when you were filming it, did you kind of come to start to think of One-Eyed Willie as an actual character in this film, even though we only see him in skeletal form at the end?
Sean?
Well, that name had a different meaning. For a lot of years, and I didn't realize until I was like in my late teens, and I was like, did he do that on purpose? Like, that is so creepy. And then it goes away. I've seen a tattoo of our beautiful Willie on many people's arms. You know,
It's a good-looking Willie.
Yeah, this is definitely a phrasing situation, yeah. Tattoo of your Willie.
There is a moment, to answer it in the spirit that it's asked, when the scene where Mikey finally talks to Willie. And Richard, we were all so loud and noisy and talking over each other, and nobody could think straight. You know what I mean? It was like just a big gang of craziness. But he really wanted to make like a special moment where the movie slowed down for a minute, and you just like his thing in the wishing well. There's like a couple of moments where the movie slows down, and so he like, I knew it was serious when he would take a knee to talk to me, like a coach. You know, he took a knee and he looked at me, he's like, okay, this is what I want you to do. He just was very clear about the conversation, and it was like, I knew that he was expecting something substantial in that moment, and I didn't really understand it. But then I played the scene, and it was like, I kind of got it in retrospect. I got why Mikey cared about it all this time. He's like, it's you, I found you. And like those words really did make him real. So yeah, so does that answer it?
Well, they had a special relationship, and that was the thing, and Richard really wanted to make sure that he got that across. And I remember that moment and that day, and he did exactly that. He was like, listen, Sean, this is your best friend. This is the eighth Goonie. He said those words, this is the eighth Goonie. And he was a Goonie, he was the first Goonie. And you're connecting with him on that level. And that was the moment that Sean, kind of got it and was like, oh, right, I get that, okay. And then they really did have that moment, which I thought was a little weird, frankly, because it's a skeleton, but, they had a moment.
There were a lot of skeletons in the movie. That was just one that had a kind of panache.
An important skeleton, yeah.
Well, there's a lot of skeletons in the closet, in fact.
Well, and just another one, I'm curious, like, why you each think, it seems like we are very nostalgic for the 80s, and I think Stranger Things is a good example of that as well. And, what is it?
Mom deserve better.
Bob lives, we all...
I knew that was a thing when my wife came home from Target. She was like, look, I got this, honey. And I'm like, Mom deserve better, okay.
What is it about the nostalgia for the 80s in particular? Why do you think that that's an era? I mean, obviously, this weekend we have Lost Boys, Back to the Future, like we have all these great 80s movies. I don't think it's just a matter of like the kids are now the adults and the people that are in power. I think it's something more. What is it about the 80s?
No, it is. It is actually that. If you look at history, okay, history is known to repeat itself. And it always does that. We cycle. That's what we do as humans. We tend to look back 20 years and go, wasn't that the best time? So in the 60s, they were saying, oh, the 40s was amazing, right? In the 80s, everybody was focused on the 60s. And in the 2000s, everybody's talking about the 80s. And that's generally the way it works. And then it starts to cycle again. So like in the 80s, everybody was like, oh yeah, man, it's like the psychedelic 60s and the Summer of Love. Remember that on MTV? They had all like the Summer of Love stuff and that hippie character, and everything was focused on the 60s. And then in the 90s, it became all about the 70s, and bell-bottoms came back. And
Take an audience question over here. Hi, how are you? Hey, you guys.
Hey,
hey, you guys!
That was one of the mic checks, sorry. My name's Ernie. You can call me Captain Chunk. had a question. I'm sure you all love your characters, like we all love your characters. But I was curious to know if you had to play a different character in the movie, either as a child playing one of the other Goonies, or as an adult playing one of the adult roles, which one for each of you would be the most fun to play?
I'll take that one. I actually used to be so envious of Sean because I actually read for Mikey first. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Yeah.
I knew it, I forgot that.
I read for Mikey and Corey Haim was reading for Mouth. That's the truth. That's the first time I met Corey Haim was on the audition.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In the Amblin office. And I didn't even know it. He told me that later. He's like, yeah, dude, I was up for Mouth and I saw you in the audition. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, why didn't you come say hi? I was like, I don't know. I didn't know you then. He's like, well, I didn't know you either. But anyway, yeah. So I used to sit there, you know, at the beginning of shooting going, what's so special about him? Why does he get the people? But they were like,
Don't pull on that thread.
They were
I don't
like,
want to know.
no. They were like, it's Patty Duke's kid. He's really talented. He's been raised the wrong. It's also nice. Just shut up. So I was like, all right, I'll shut up. And then, as I gained a respect for Sean and his work ethic and what he was about as an actor, I was like, you know what? He's Mikey. It's the truth.
I think the movie is so good is because it was perfectly cast. Like I can't imagine myself playing Mikey or Mouth, or definitely not Chunk. But I mean, it was just, you know, it's everybody is perfect. It's just, I can't imagine
I got an answer.
playing any other role.
I got an answer. I want to play Short Round. No, wait. No, I don't think I could have pulled that off. No, I would want to play Brand. Because if you took Mikey away, and Mikey gets to kiss Andy, Brand gets to kiss Andy. I'm gonna kiss the girl, man.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
So, well, the other part of that question is interesting. Like, would it be compelling to you now, as adults, to play sort of a villain like a Fratelli? Like, probably, maybe not Mama Fratelli, but then again, who knows? But like, would you want to be sort of the villain, the bad guy that's terrorizing the kids?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I can do it as well. Those guys are, I mean, like he said, they're perfect, but...
Brilliant, actually, what they did.
Tyler, are you talking about my Fratelli like Tyler Perry? Like we're gonna dress up and...
I wasn't going there, but sure, why not? Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be fun. It's always fun to play a bad guy. But that said, would I want to be immortalized as the guy that's taunting and torturing little children? Probably not. Might not be the best direction for a career, but hey, Joey Pants made a career out of it, so go figure. And Robert, yeah.
No, I like it. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. Let's take a question over on this side. Hi.
Hold up, this mic's too short for me. There we go.
How you doing, guys? First off,
Interview promoting the movie. And after the interview was done, I remember walking into Steven's office. He came out and gave me the biggest hug and said, Key, I got your next movie. And I remember the pitch. He says, you're gonna, you know, the movie's called The Goonies, and you're gonna play a character named Data. And he has all these gadgets, but they never work unless your life depends on it. And sure enough, 6 months later, I was on a set with 6 other kids. So that was, unfortunately I didn't know who they were. It was at a time where I didn't watch a lot of movies. Even when I did Indiana Jones, I didn't see Star Wars.
Oh, come on. He had a bigger trailer. His agent was always there. He had special food flown in from China. Unbelievable.
But it was an amazing adventure being, you know, on the set with them.
Well, so much of it relies on you guys as a cohesive team, like believing the fact that there is this friendship there. Was there any kind of, I don't know, team building, or did Richard Donner or Steven Spielberg, did they kind of like try to get you guys to become friends before the camera started rolling?
They didn't have to. I mean, it was natural. You know, look, you got to realize when you're in an adult industry as children, you walk onto most sets and you're the only kid there. and you walk around twiddling your thumbs like, okay, what am I going to do when I'm out of school? Because I don't really want to talk to the adults, right? There's nothing to do. I'll just stand here and watch them all day, I guess. So when you see another kid pop up on the set, you're instantly best friends. Instantly. Now, you put 7 kids together? Holy crap, it's summer camp.
You know, the way you said it, it's like Dale Dye, the guy they brought in for Saving Private Ryan, to get all of the actors like boot camped up. So they were like, what would that have looked like for the Goonies? Like, what would you have had to do to, like, I don't know, like, it would be...
I don't know, Chuck E. Cheese, ball pits, I don't know.
Send them to a bunch of Star Trek conventions.
Thanks. Take another question over.
Well, for me, it was the pirate ship. You know, when they were building the pirate ship, I'm sure you all heard the story. You know, they had a security guard right outside the stage, making sure that none of us get to see it. And I remember Sean and I, we used to try to sneak in all the time. But so when we did finally do it, we were escorted walking backwards. We got on the set, we went underwater, they rolled the camera, and we pop up, we turn around, and that was the first time we saw it, and I remember that ship was breathtaking. It was, you know, it was a full size, it was humongous. And then that giant pool of water in front of it was heated. So it was just an amazing time.
It was heated with water that was dyed blue. And you would go home at the end of the night and you would have blue snot coming out of your nose. Could not be the healthiest place on earth for kids.
Well, they figured they were too concerned about the liability of the water slides.
Exactly. Like, forget the environmental possibilities here, but
Yeah, I remember the Bones piano thing. We were all kind of up against it. They had removed the floor, so we were a couple stories up, and there was a camera from ILM, Industrial Light Magic, and
I had to be on a little wire harness.
Yeah, you were on the wire harness, and there was something about all of us being bunched together like that, and it was essentially kind of like a stunt, because it was, you know, you had to be careful not to fall off the thing, and it was cool because it was new technology. They were the blue screen thing. They were really making advancements with that. So they were excited about how they were, you know, just watching them talk about it. Watching them talk about Sloth's makeup. Like his makeup for the first month was you just couldn't photograph it. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But it got better and better and better. And the servos and the eyes and the ears and all the stuff that they did to make it. It was like we were part of something really innovative and cool. And I just remember those, like a whole series of those little moments where, you know, I mean, to me, every day driving onto the Warner Brothers lot and having the guard say, hey, good morning, Sean. Like, I'm a hot shot, you know.
We were part of the family.
We were part of it. The water tower's right there, and you're like, I'm starring in a Warner Brothers movie. And no matter what happens with my career, my life after that, every time I drive by and I see it, I'm like, yeah.
See, now for me it was kind of the opposite, because for whatever reason, every movie I did was for Warner Brothers, like back to back to back to back. So, and I wasn't under contract or anything cool like that, it just turned out that way. But it was like Gremlins, and then Goonies, and then Lost Boys, and even Stand By Me got picked up by Columbia Pictures, which was also on the Warner Brothers lot. So it was like one after another, and it became Home Away from Home. So the weird part for me was when I pulled up a few years later and they were like, who are you? Oh, never mind. Sorry, I used to work here.
Just a quick little anecdote. When Lost Boys came out, I'd actually gotten a job working at a movie theater in Westwood Village, the Man Bruin Theater, and I was cleaning the butter maker and turning tickets in the door, and I was like checking the like, you know, climate in the theater, and it was the premiere.
But it was out of choice. It was out of choice.
Yeah, no, I wanted to do it. It was like a job. Actually, you know.
It wasn't because he couldn't get a job. It was because he wanted the work ethic, right? And
I grew up in Westwood, driving my bike around there, and it was, to me, that was like a really cool thing. And the $150 I get, whatever it was, at the end of the month, was more real to me than the thousands of dollars I'd make on the movie, because that went into an account I couldn't get until I was 18. So I was like, I can cash this and go buy whatever I want with it. But the night of the premiere of Lost Boys, Corey walks up with a whole group of friends and people that are there, and there's lights outside, and I've got my polyester blue jacket on, you know, and so Corey
Can I get you some popcorn, Mr. Feldman?
well, Mr. Francis Dennis, who's the old guy, bless his heart, who ran the Bruin Theater, there's popcorn on the ground where you guys are standing, and he goes, he has no idea. He goes, Sean? And I was like, so I grabbed the dustpan and the thing, and I'm like, hey, Gordon, congratulations, man.
Do you know how bad I felt at that moment? I was like, oh man, dude, this really is a tough business.
I think that's great. I think that's a great answer.
That's a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah. You're gonna be great. It's gonna be a final question.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Laura. It's so good to be here. I'm really excited.
Laura.
What's your question, Laura?
All right. All right. I'm just.
Come on, Laura, we want to hear it.
Okay. I'm just curious because throughout the movie, Troy was giving all the kids trouble, and I just wanted to know what kind of advice would you guys give to someone who's dealing with someone like Troy in real life, whether it be work or school?
Okay. A bullying question. I get filled with rage when I talk about this. Well, he loses the girl, so I guess you could just talk about karma a little bit. Bullying. There's generally, if you're brave enough and patient enough, people around who can help you. And finding a way to ask for help or get help, that should be a part of our culture, talking to each other about that. I think because suicide rate is so high, because it's talked about so much more, I think that there are, I mean, in Stand By Me, I mean, it's just this horrifying bullying these guys, the Keeper, these people are doing on you. And
Keeper, terrible.
Yeah, they're terrible. But in the 50s, I don't know if there's anywhere you could go. In 2019, you could probably find, if kids were told, you know, hey, there's people who like you and they want to help you. Because they're scared that, you know, if they tell somebody that it's going to get even worse. That's what bullies do. So bullying is just, I get enraged when I think about
But
it.
the thing is, I learned a way, because I was bullied my whole life. Still get bullied to some extent, so do you. So if you're a celebrity, you get bullied. It's kind of part of it, you know? And the answer to that is, you gotta bully the bully back. Right? So like for me, that was my defense. My defense was, you know what? You don't have to take it. Because in life, you don't have to take it. What you do have to do is learn how to stand up for yourself.
I'm a little gun shy, guys.
And believe in yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Because guess what? You deserve the right to be who you are. And whatever that choice is, that's your right.
But don't get into the light.
I'm a little gun shy because my audition scene for Stranger Things was looking at a little boy who was having nightmares and saying to him, listen, in your nightmare, you just stand up to that monster and you look it straight in the eye and you say, go away. And it's like great advice until the monster like sucks his face off at the end of the show. And you're like, oh no. I'll tell you what. The person who's being bullied, it's important to communicate with, but more important is to communicate with everybody here and say we're all responsible for each other, and you need to look out for somebody else. And if somebody's being bullied, you go get them.
You know why? Because Goonies never say